Doom v Vamos v Vamos Epicureans. This is the BCE Comics Pod one-shot edition. I'm your host, Nick Smith, and I'm joined by...
Stojr from Stojr Shelf. How's it going, Nick?
I'm doing well, particularly since we are participating in Kurtis Findlay's Epic Marvel Podcast Reading Club, and this one-shot is going to be our brief thoughts on today's issue, which is Uncanny X Men number 165, Transfigurations. Look at that gorgeous cover. I like it. It's weird. It's creepy. Maybe it's the colors in the background that does it. The fade from yellow to red or to orange up at the top. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, I love having Paul Smith on this book, and I'm very sad to see Cockrum go. I think he had some good stuff in here, but this is what I think about when I'm thinking about this era of X-Men. Very happy that he's on board and knocking it out of the park right away on that cover. I mean, that's one of the top 10 X-Men covers of all time.
Yeah, we neglected to cover in the previous episode that was Dave Cockrum's last issue, so we now have Paul Smith on pencils. Stojr and I got distracted by a long private conversation that we didn't record about Cockrum's retirement and stuff, and some of that stuff maybe we'll bring up later because it's not relevant to this, relevant to other things. Anyway, as for the story, Storm escaped Lalander's ship in the previous issue, and she's facing the real possibility of changing into one of the Brood, and so she decides to do something about it. Well, back on Earth, Professor X begins to move on, and he starts reaching out to a new mutant, so it sounds like the start of, well, new mutants coming into the X-Men, or into the X-Mansion, right? And then back in the spaceship, the remaining X-Men are struggling with the reality that they will become members of the Brood as well. All right, Stojr, what are your thoughts?
So love the art in this issue. I think the first page or two looks a little weird, but maybe that's on purpose because they're kind of getting sucked out into space. But after that, I mean, it's there's no ramp up. Like when we saw Paul Smith in that Marvel Fanfare issue, I was like, oh, this doesn't look exactly like what I remember his art to be. But maybe it's a lot earlier stuff.
It's the inking.
Rest of most. Yeah, and maybe that's what it was. But most of this issue, looks exactly what I would expect with him. From a plot standpoint, like we're kind of slowly moving things forward. There's just a ton of things I don't understand in here, and that's we're really starting to lean into, as we get closer to the resolution. I'm scratching my head with some of this stuff from a story perspective. It's fun. I try and turn my brain off, but some of these things are a bit confusing. So if I just kind of run down from what I can see, I don't know why Stevie's just at the mansion, right? Like other than we need another character, like another side character for our new book that we're going to launch, because she's a dance instructor that Kitty was hanging out with. Kitty hasn't been around in forever. Moira needed somebody to hang out with, but wait a second, Moira, you have the Banshee over in across the pond. What are you even doing here? Other than to give Charles some crap. So, there's some weirdness with having people around. And, Moira jumps back and forth. When I checked on that New Mutants #1 issue, which I would assume is maybe the month after this, because, they're talking about it as if Charles hasn't made that decision yet. Moira and Ileana are in, Cassidy Keep or Muir Island or wherever the hell they are. They're over across the ocean in that issue. So they're jet setting back and forth, up in their carbon footprint wherever they can. I don't understand what Storm's doing. I love the page where she kind of fights off the transformation. I don't understand how she has the power to do that. I don't really care because it looks so cool. But so those two pages are awesome. But this idea that she's drawn to this energy where the space whales go or something, and then she's able to survive in space because there's so many stars around. Her power was never really tied to the sun. None of this makes any sense. I'm very confused. I do like the idea of leaning into Nightcrawler's faith in here. You see that Claremont is not shy about talking about religion. We've talked about Kitty and her faith. Now we're starting to lean into Kurt a bit and talk about that. So I think that's an ongoing theme that we'll see throughout this. And throughout the years with Nightcrawler, right? He's had girlfriends. He's been, a sort of a player from that perspective wherever he can. But he's also been a priest, and been, sort of celibate and things like that over the years. So, he's definitely somebody who thinks a lot about his faith, and this is really the beginning of leaning into that. I was getting a little tired of these like sort of like flashbacky thought process stuff, but the kitty one is like definitively creepy. So I kind of like this one. It's also makes sense, like she's dreaming. It's not just like randomly inserted as people are like kind of fighting against things. And you have this whole bedside scene that comes afterwards. I've been saying it all along. Kitty and Colossus don't like, are they're too far apart in age. Stop having them kiss. Like, if you could take out the panel of them kissing and have him just, push her away and maybe like change some of these word balloons, everything here would be fine. But like, he's like 19 and she's 14. This is like it's not cool. And it's weird and it should have been weird back then, but I guess people were just conveniently forgetting how old he is there. Little side note, that last panel where he gets up with by the white wolf and she's screaming, like I swear I've seen that like a million times. I don't know if that's a meme online or they made a sticker of that panel or something, but that's interesting. And then the whole ending here with like just like visions of Storm popping up, like I don't understand. Maybe you can educate me in your thoughts, but I just don't understand any of that. So I'm trying to turn my brain off and have fun. It sounds like there's a ton of complaints. I love the art. I love where like that we're getting towards a conclusion, but there's just a lot of like what type of things as I read through this. What are your thoughts?
I think when it comes to the visions of Storm at the end, I think we're going to get a hint of that in the next issue. But I'm keeping the comic viewer on this on these 2 pages where Kitty's having this dream with a funeral. This was like the one thing that I think really stood out to me with Paul Smith's art here. I like it. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think I'm yet quite as enamored as you are, Stoger. But I like how the splash page of Kitty's funeral there and how some of the panels are delineated with her coffin. That's real clever. It's real different, right? And so I kind of appreciate that sort of thing. I think my thoughts on this one is it's kind of like the previous one. We're just stretching things out again. We're getting little quiet moments of people thinking and worrying about turning into the Brood and that sort of thing, which is fine, but it's just dragging, right? And then exactly how Storm gets back on the ship, how she becomes unified with one of these space whales, again, intriguing. But yeah, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And hopefully the video doesn't look too bad. I'm noticing my video is dragging for some reason, so I'm sorry that's a bit behind. Hopefully the audio is just fine. Maybe we ought to wrap it up from there because I think we're hopefully going to resolve some things in the next episode. All right, Stoger, any other final thoughts?
Nope, I'm all good. Looking forward to the next one, double size issue.
Yep. All right. So once again, if you enjoy our thoughts on this, go ahead and follow us on YouTube. We're going to read, rate, and review a big collected edition once a month, and we've got these one-shots coming out every day. All right. Thank you very much, guys, and we will catch you next time.